Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state.
Be a part of tonight's show. Call 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts. Gear up for Sports Talk
On the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And I don't want to get too far into that. I definitely believe in all our quarterbacks that we have. Definitely a talented. Perry is a very talented coach. Brandon can throw the ball and he can run. And, Jake brings a little bit of both. And like I said, they're all talented guys. And, whichever one we go to war with, that's what we're going to play with. So.
And we don't get many home games, so I just want to challenge our fans to, let's show up, let's be ready. And, man, let's get up and eat a biscuit and be ready to roll at high noon.
Oh boy, we're off and running here on Sports Talk. Welcome in. Glad you are along for the ride. Kevin McCrary holding it down. I don't know how I feel. I'm a little lonely in the studio. No Pro tonight, no Corn. He's off for the Jewish holiday. Pro's on vacation. We've got Jared Rogers-Martin back behind the glass tonight. He was in Charlotte last night watching another Panthers loss. So it's just us tonight, holding it down, us and you, of course, wherever you are dialed in around the state. We're glad you're along for the ride with us. We have plenty to get into, plenty to discuss and talk about. It is a Talking Tuesday, even though there is no USC today because the Gamecocks are off. No Will Muschamp anyway. Some of the players talked, and we'll drop in some of the things that they had to say throughout the week. I don't know how much we're going to get into tonight just because we are pretty loaded up, to be quite honest with you. We have a lot of different things to get into, a lot of different things to discuss. I want to take time for you with fewer voices. That's more time for you. No Corn. Now, let's face it, Corn would just be sucking up all of the airwaves all the time. He wouldn't let anybody get a word in edgewise. I'd have to cut him off more than Tim Kaine in a debate just to get a word in edgewise. But tonight it's just me. So I want to have you on board with me to help carry me through the day. So if you have something that you want to get off your chest, something that you want to talk about, something that you want to discuss, a question, a complaint, I can't imagine why anybody would have a thing to complain about. Honestly, there's nothing to complain about, is there? Well, if there is, we'll take your complaints too, your criticisms, your suggestions, which will be filed away in the garbage can, but we will take them nonetheless. 800-956-7266 is our toll-free number, so you can reach out and grab a line. You can also hit us up on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. That's where you can interact with us in 140 characters or less. You can interact with me on Twitter at KMacMustDie. That's a joke. It's not to be taken literally. Some people seem to be confused about that on Twitter, but that is how you can find me on Twitter at KMacMustDie. If you want to drop us an email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. Where to begin? We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney. You heard a clip there to begin the show as he's trying to get everybody fired up. The Tigers are a huge favorite over NC State. The Textile Bowl. Am I the only one that still calls it the Textile Bowl? Did that go away when actual textile mills went away? It's still the Textile Bowl to me. I'm old school like that. Clemson and NC State getting together. The Tigers should wallop NC State. Really, we're at the midway point of the season, and you look at Clemson and you say, who's going to beat them? Florida State is really the only team that is going to have a legitimate shot, because Clemson, just like I said last week against Boston College, they can go out against NC State and sputter around, play poorly, and still win, maybe by double digits. They're not going to have to play their best to beat NC State. Meanwhile, NC State could play their best game of the season and still end up losing. And that's how it's going to be pretty much the rest of the way for Clemson as they move through their schedule. They've had a couple of tough games. I think 2 of their 3 tough games are out of the way now. Auburn, who, by the way, is now ranked. Everybody that was ready to call that an embarrassing win, whatever that is, for Clemson, I always trip out about openers because you don't know how good or bad the other team is, win or lose. You just don't know. And Auburn, as it turns out, might be decent. After all, we knew they had a pretty good defense, and they seem to be finding some things offensively. They're ranked 23rd this week. So that was an impressive win to open the season. They got by Louisville, as we all know. They have to get by Florida State. And does anybody out there think Clemson's going to lose a game in the second half of the season? Does anybody think that's going to happen?
I predicted 2 losses.
Yeah, well, you're going to be wrong, Jared. They're not going to lose twice. They might lose once. Florida State could get them. There's no question about that. And then with Clemson have time to recover, because even if Florida State gets them, Clemson's still in great shape to win that division and go on to the ACC championship game in Orlando. So that wouldn't derail their ACC title hopes, but it could potentially derail their national championship hopes depending on what happens around them. Mentioned USC isn't playing. You heard Bryson Allen Williams. He was getting some questions today about the quarterback position. Now, he's a linebacker. But he still was asked questions about the quarterbacks. And Jake Bentley, everyone's going to start talking about Jake Bentley. Already started people mentioning Jake Bentley. Unless Jake Bentley can come in and change the season for South Carolina, and I'm not saying he can't, I would be very skeptical that he can, given their issues on offense, you don't burn his red shirt. You just don't. Do not burn the kid's red shirt. You've already went through 6 games. You've endured that. You have a couple of wins on there. You can get by with Perry Orth. He's going to be what he is. You can still work in McElwain some more and get his legs underneath him. And then let Jake Bentley come in with a year under his belt, a year in the program, a year in the weight program, a year in the system, and battle for the job over the summer. That should be the plan. Because you bring him in now and he takes a few lumps and he gets some quote-unquote experience, great, okay. Now he loses a year and you only have him for 3 more years instead of 4. And I look back to Connor Shaw, who had a great career. I don't think it's really an argument. He's the greatest quarterback in South Carolina history in terms of what he did and what he accomplished. But Steve Spurrier threw him out there his freshman year. Remember this in that Auburn game, when Steven Garcia was struggling in the 4th quarter, he threw Connor Shaw out there. And to me, that was a mistake. And just burned his year up there. And he didn't do a lot after that and was never used in a significant role the rest of that season. And you lost a year. You could have had 1 more year of Connor Shaw, as great as he was. Now, that would have been the Dylan Thompson season. And who knows what would have happened that year. They won 7 games that year and lost a couple down the stretch against Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri. They might have had another 10-win season if Connor Shaw burned his red shirt. Now, we're armchair quarterbacking things, no pun intended, but you can't burn his red shirt at this point unless he can go out there and light the world on fire and beat a team like Florida or Tennessee or Clemson. And I hate to break it to everybody, USC's offensive issues go well beyond quarterback. Speaking of USC and their issues, Steve Spurrier's talking again. The guy's been doing a lot of interviews, been on TV a lot. Josh Kendall caught up with him. It's a great piece, an absolutely great piece. Classic Steve Spurrier stuff in here. I'm going to go through it coming up on the other side of the break. It's almost 1 year to the day. In fact, tomorrow will be 1 year exactly since Steve Spurrier walked away from the Gamecocks. And Josh Kendall caught up with him. And, boy, he had a weekend. Now, he had a weekend where he was driving back to Florida to check on his beach house in Crescent Beach with Hurricane Matthew and ended up just moseying into a bar. And it's a good story from there. So stick around. I'll go through that coming up on the other side. We can get into your phone calls as well and see what's on your mind. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney coming up later in the program. Corn is not here. It is a Jewish holiday, but recruiting never takes a break. It always goes along, whether it's New Year's, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Christmas, Thanksgiving. There is always recruiting. So we'll hear some recruiting notes out of my mouth, which is always a scary thought, but we'll do our best to pass that along. Sports Talk just rolling along here on South Carolina Radio Network. Don't go away. I'm not going to be as obnoxious as Kornblut is when he's watching the Yankees, but I will tell you I do have one eye on the Dodgers-Nationals game going on right now. The Dodgers lead 3-2. Clayton Kershaw on the mound pitching on short rest. 800-956-7266 is the toll-free number. Reach out, grab a line. Calls coming this segment. I promise we'll get to your phone calls. So reach out, grab a line, and we'll get right to you. I want to share some of this Steve Spurrier story. It's written by Josh Kendall, state newspaper, GoGamecocks.com. I highly encourage you to go and give the thing a read. I don't think it's behind a paywall because I got to it, and it's worth it. And it was really good stuff. I'm going to give you a few of the highlights. Now, to set it up for you, Steve Spurrier, again, Sunday was in Crescent Beach, Florida, checking out his condo. No damage from the hurricane, but the cable was out. So Spurrier goes out looking for a place to watch the game and finds a little sports bar and ends up hanging out with some people and watching the South Carolina game with some people he just ran into at the bar. Now, his thoughts on the game, again, quoting the story here. Yeah, I hope the Gamecocks get it going. They have excellent coaches there. They're doing a good job, just a little bit light on big play talent, but I think they will be fine. Yeah, you think they're just a little light. Spurrier is still clearly thinking about how things happened and how things ended at South Carolina, even a year later, almost 1 year to the day. Basically, I'd failed to put together a competitive team, and I knew my time was finished there, he said. I'm still convinced it was the right thing to do. I'd failed to put a decent team together, and it was either go out then or announce, or the other would have been to be like most coaches and say, I ain't quitting, and they have to fire you, but I wasn't going to do that. I always said when it went bad, I'd be gone, and they wouldn't have to buy me out. So a year after his resignation, as we all know, he's back at Florida now, where he is a consultant and an ambassador, although according to Spurrier, a quote, I don't know who I'm consulting. I go watch practice every now and then and watch a little tape and make some suggestions, but that's all. Their terminology and mine are completely different. We don't even know what the other one is talking about half the time. Spurrier added, oh, I'm a little bored. Continuing another piece from Spurrier. Every now and then I think about when you're watching games and watching everybody struggling on offense, it makes you think, what the heck am I doing up here watching on TV? Sometimes people will ask me, what do you miss? Obviously, I missed the really good teams with players with wonderful attitudes like Marcus Lattimore and Connor Shaw and even DJ Swearinger and those defensive guys who came to the ballpark ready to play. I miss all of those guys and having a good team and calling plays. It was a good run, Spurrier said. Hopefully, we are on good terms with those people. I hope so. After last year, I have to take responsibility. I thought I could fix the defense. I thought we had a decent team. I was wrong. I was terribly wrong, and then it was over. That last part, I mean, it's a little sad at the end. You just picture Steve Spurrier realizing that it's all over, thinking now he has nothing but time on his hands, thinking about where things went wrong, watching that game Sunday, watching the offense struggle, and you know Spurrier is watching that go down and thinking to himself what he would be doing, what he would be calling, and seeing the defense improve. That's probably where he's really going, oh, now they're playing a little bit of defense at South Carolina. They're not the 84 Bears, but they are playing a little bit of defense. Had they been able to play at that level, at the level they are right now, the past couple of years, things could have been a lot different for South Carolina. They would have won a handful more games, certainly, especially in that 2014 season. But as we know, that didn't happen. And Spurrier is now back and getting bored already at Florida and talking about being a quarterback's coach. Not going to happen. He's not really talking about it, but he's talking out loud or thinking out loud, amusing. Here's a question. Now, this isn't anything about Will Muschamp being the head coach, because he's doing, I think, as good of a job as he could do. And it's not a knock on Kurt Roper either. This is just a thing that I'm posing out there. If Steve Spurrier, same personnel on offense, we're just talking about offense, not the head coach. Let's just say on Saturday, Steve Spurrier's in there. It's his offense, and he's calling the plays. Is it any different for South Carolina on offense? Are they any better than they are right now? If he's dealing with the same exact players, I would tend to say yes, they're a little bit better. Spurrier was a pretty darn good play caller in his day. Would they have won more games? That's a whole nother question. I don't think they necessarily would have won any more. Maybe the Kentucky game, because he probably would have yanked McElwain out of there and put Orth in. And we would have definitely seen Jake Bentley by now if Spurrier was in charge of that offense. I don't know how much better they would have really been. I think they would have lost a Vanderbilt game as Spurrier was coaching. He probably would have thrown the ball too much and put it in danger. So I'm not really talking about wins and losses, but would this offense be better with Steve Spurrier in control of it? Totally. That would be interesting to think about because Spurrier still knows offense. He certainly does, but you got to have players. And the offense wasn't rolling that last year with Steve Spurrier calling the plays. They weren't really good at Missouri. In fact, he wasn't really calling a lot of those plays. He kind of got away from calling the plays because they were going backwards. But it is sad. At least my interpretation of reading that at the end, it just sounded like kind of a sad guy. But go and read the whole thing. He talks about Florida State and the people he hung out with, and Josh Kendall. He's doing a heck of a job covering USC for the state newspaper, and that was a heck of a find. Let's go out to the phones. Pat is in Greenville, and he's up on Sports Talk. Hello, Pat.
Hello, good evening. I'm sure that you're enjoying your freedom there to speak your mind.
Oh, well, I always speak my mind, but I can speak it a little longer tonight.
Just one little bit of trivia and then one statement. On the trivia side, NC State and Clemson both have very similar academia. They both have strong agricultural and animal life type programs, and those both evolved into strong textile programs. So they both have very strong textile engineering programs, and of course that's evolved now from fabric to carbon and plastic fibers. But I think that's where the textile bowl originated, was for their textile engineering programs. But my statement is I totally agree with what you're saying about don't burn Bentley's red shirt. But the only problem the only concern that I have is that we're already starting to lose some of our prospects, and that's what I'm worried about. If we end up with another 3-9 season, are we going to be able to keep all of our prospects? So that's my statement. I'll leave it with you, and I'd like to hear your response.
That's always a concern this time of year. I was joking last night. The Gamecocks lost a guy on Sunday, how October has kind of turned into decommitting season for South Carolina. They've had some really good players committed at one time or another that for one reason or another, they haven't been able to get on campus and on the team. Some guys that are contributing at other schools that have been well documented, guys like Mark Fields at Clemson, guys like Arden Key at LSU. But this is a different staff, and they are going to work these guys, and they were 3-9 last year, and I don't think they're out on the recruiting trail telling people, hey, we're great. They're not underachieving right now. South Carolina is pretty much the team that most of us thought they would be. I know Will Muschamp talked about SEC East and was setting the bar very high just because he wants to have that and set those kind of goals, but it wasn't realistic. The Dodgers have scored. That is the signal, by the way. That means the Dodgers have scored. Very good. The Dodgers now lead 4-2 on the Nationals as they try to stave off elimination tonight. So that's good news. Now, where was I? You got me on with the Dodgers
The
music.
power. But it's the decommission of all the recruits, which I don't know if that's something I would fear too much. I mean, Muschamp, with these recruits, have said how much they like him and how much contact he's had with them, and I think that's going to be the big focus. They know where South Carolina's at right now,
and
they just need to see the future, and Muschamp can provide that, and especially for these young wide receivers and stuff. You look at the Georgia game; they had a pretty decent game from that. So these offensive players see potential. They're not going to see detriment.
And they're being recruited to change things and say, you can come in here. We need you. See, this is why we need you. We'd be there. We make that play with you, and you're bringing those guys in. So that's where they are. It's going to be back and forth. Recruiting is always full of drama, but I wouldn't panic. I don't think they'll have something like what happened in 2013, 2014, whenever that was, when they lost so many guys out of their class. 8 decommitments?
in your description of the video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, guys.
Sports Talk continues live from downtown Columbia on Main Street. This is your Main Street of sports. Anything and everything in the sports world in South Carolina, we have it covered. Glad you're along with us tonight, wherever you are listening to us on one of our many great affiliates, over 30 around the state, or online, SportsTalkSC.com, where you can listen to the show. There's a link to listen to the show. Or if you're very brave, you can even watch the show, and you can see us in person and go and watch our video stream. Well, you're not in person, but it's a video of us in person. You get the point. And if you miss something, you can go back and watch the show as well and interview a segment or whatever. Maybe you called in and want to hear yourself. You can go back to SportsTalkSC.com and find one of our old shows that are archived. It is Tuesday. It is a Talking Tuesday, one half of a Talking Tuesday. No Will Muschamp. The Gamecocks are off this week, but Dabo Swinney very much in action. The Tigers taking on NC State, and Swinney got the media boys together up in Tiger Town to break down the Textile Bowl matchup against the Wolfpack. 6-0, big favorite coming off an easy win at Boston College, looking to go to 7-0 and stay focused. Let's listen in on a little bit of what Dabo had to say today.
We got a big challenge with NC State, and a team that we really kind as we've gotten dialed in on here the past few days, very impressed with. Biggest thing is they've got 17 starters back. Got 8 back on defense and 9 back on offense. So this is a veteran football team. And when you look at their defense, they're not just starters back. They're all seniors and juniors. And then offensively, they got 2 or 3 graduates. So, their quarterback is a transfer from Boise State. So this is a veteran team that I think is playing well. They're playing with a lot of confidence, obviously coming off a big win over Notre Dame. I think this is the best team that Coach Doran has had. Just, again, the experience, a few recruiting classes in there, and kind of getting the philosophy of their program in place. I think they do an excellent job. And the biggest thing this week is, there's only 2 undefeated teams in our division. And we'll be battling for that first spot this week. And so big challenge. Somebody's gonna leave Saturday afternoon in control of their destiny. Somebody's not. So both teams want the same thing. Both teams want to win the division. So this is a championship caliber type of game this week in the Valley, and we're looking forward to participating in it. Offensively, they're averaging 400 and something yards a game, 34 points a game. They brought in a new OC from Boise State, new offensive line coach as well, came over from App State, and the quarterback from Boise graduated and transferred to NC State. So very familiar with what they're doing. I'm impressed with what they're doing system-wise. They want to run the football, first of all. That's what they want to hang their hat on. But a lot of good complementary plays that come off of what they're doing. A lot of formations and personnel groupings and speed motions and things like that. So just very impressed. The quarterback is 4th in the country in completion percentage right now. He's thrown 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So he's been very accurate, very efficient, and, again, knows their system inside and out. So good football player that's playing really well for them. They're running back. They're all familiar with 20 or so in the country and rushing right now, averaging 113 a game. He's a very good running back. He's tough. He's a guy that really could play anywhere, no doubt about it. And then their offensive line is athletic. They're physical. They've added a couple of big receivers to their core this year to go along with number 7, number 13, who are 2 excellent receivers. Hines is one of the kids that we recruited here at Clemson. And he's a kid that took a kick back to the house on us last year. He's a really fast guy. So he and 13, very good players, but then they've gone out and added a couple of 6'2 plus guys to that core with 12 and number 3. So I think they're doing a good job with their receivers, big tight ends. Every time we play NC State, they always have these big tight ends. That hasn't changed. But the guy that I don't really know what to call him, is he a running back? Is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he a fullback? And that's number 1, Samuel. Kid, he's a great football player. He really is. And they use him in a lot of I don't again, it's hard to really classify him. He's in a lot of different positions, but man, oh man, he can run it, he can catch it, he blocks. I mean, he does everything for them. So he leads them in touchdowns, leads them in receptions. Very, very dynamic player that hurt us last year too. In fact, we did not play well. It's probably our worst game defensively last year was against these guys. We gave up 41 points, had a bunch of opportunities to get the quarterback on the ground last year, and we could not tackle him. Had some chunk plays that we gave up, but he is a very good player. So big challenge for us there. And then defensively, they're 8th in total defense. They're 8th in rush defense. They're 15th in scoring defense. So another good defense. I think this is this and Auburn are the 2 best fronts, just D-line fronts that we've seen. A very good group up front here. Very active. They've got good quality depth. Got a couple guys that we recruited hard here. so very familiar with them. And again, they've got 8 starters back, so a very good group over there as well on defense.
Dabo Swinney talking up NC State, and that's his job. He's got to make NC State sound as tough as possible, but Clemson is going to handle NC State. And we'll get a week off, and then they'll go down to Florida State for a showdown with the Seminoles in Tallahassee, and that will be a huge game. I don't have to tell you that. That's Captain Obvious coming through, but outside of that, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that Clemson's in pretty darn good shape to return to the college football playoff and maybe get a rematch with Alabama at some point, maybe get to face Ohio State in there. We're going to get the first playoff projections, the first official rankings on November 1st, and then we'll get a better idea. But this Clemson team, much like last year, they are starting to get it together. They're starting to get a little bit better every week. And the offense, you knew the offense was going to start rolling, and they were going to start putting it together. You could see it was all there. They struggled against Auburn. They struggled against Troy. They blew the doors off South Carolina State. That was just one of those wash games against a team that was inferior. But as the season has progressed, the offense seems to be finding itself. More guys are stepping up. They have so many weapons. And if they stay healthy, if Four stays healthy, look out, because that defense for a second straight year is better than anybody thought it was going to be. I mean,
and the other thing with that is you don't want your team to peak early in the season. You know, if there's any time where you want the Clemson offense to not really have it together and test the waters, it's in the early season. So by the time they hit their stride, it's playoff time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all their problems and issues early were correctable. When you have a team that is struggling on defense, they don't tackle well, or their secondary is weak and they're exploited, that's an issue that probably isn't going to be solved that year. That's a personnel issue. You're going to go out and change either your scheme or find better players. And we see that. I think South Carolina fans are realizing that now with their offense. It doesn't matter who they put in at quarterback. They just have to get more players on offense, and they have to get more experience. And they're getting that now. They're taking their lumps. But Clemson, they're there. I mean, the future is now for Clemson, and this is Deshaun Watson's last year. They have to cash in. They're recruiting at a high level. Clemson is not going to fall off the map. We thought they were going to slip when they lost Chad Morris. We thought they were going to slip when they lost so many great players on defense the past couple of years. But Deshaun Watson has carried them, and Brent Venables has dialed up great defenses for the Tigers. What a great hire. Probably the best hire for Dabo Swinney, even bigger than Chad Morris, I'd say. Recruiting coming up, your phone calls as well. Sports Talk continues here on a Talking Tuesday. Insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forest. Favorite campsites, neighborhoods, and state and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. Kornblut is not here, in case you haven't noticed, but recruiting is here. So you might be missing Kornblut. He'll be back. Recruiting is here right now. So let's jump into tonight's recruiting report, and we're going to begin with linebacker Justin Foster. He's 6'3", 205 pounds, out of Shelby, North Carolina. And Monday night, he announced a commitment to Clemson over Georgia and Tennessee. Foster revealed that decision during halftime of his high school game. He's the Tigers' 14th commitment for the 2017 class. Clemson was the first school to offer the Shrine Bowl selection in January of his sophomore year, and the Tigers have been a major presence with him ever since. Foster had over 30 offers during his recruiting process, but the early start with Clemson and the ongoing recruiting effort always stood out. Foster is considered one of the top linebackers in the country for the 2017 class. As a junior, he had 67 tackles with 3 sacks. Defensive back Marquise Bell of Bridgeton, New Jersey, was supposed to take his first official visit to Michigan last month and his second to Florida last weekend. Neither of those happened, but he did get to see Michigan play in person last weekend when he made an official visit to Rutgers. Boy, what a game that was. I think Rutgers is still trying to get a yard. It was not a good day for the home team. Michigan won.
Decommitting.
Michigan won 78-0. So maybe that was impressive. By the way, interesting postscript to that story. There was a promotion done by Ruth's Chris Steakhouse for that game for Michigan. And whatever the margin of victory was, you got that percentage off your meal at Ruth's Chris. So it was a 78-point margin of victory. So you should have been able to go in and get 78% off your steak. And that would have made it like a $20 steak at Ruth's Chris, the way they charge. But Ruth Chris, they backed out, and now they're only giving 50%. They're only honoring it up to 50%. And Jim Harbaugh said he is going to redeem his coupon. That doesn't surprise me that he is a guy that goes to a sit-down restaurant and puts down a coupon. It just doesn't shock me at all. But anyway, I digress. Back to recruiting. We're talking about Marquise Bell of Bridgeton, New Jersey. The fact that Michigan won 78-0 did not detract from Bell's enjoyment of the weekend or improve Michigan's chances to land him. He said he doesn't really know. He hasn't thought about it like that. Bell said he has been keeping an eye on Clemson. He hears from Tigers secondary coach Mike Reed, and Mike Reed's telling him how the Tigers could use him in the secondary. He'll continue with his official visits in October when he goes to Maryland on the 22nd. He plans to visit Clemson next month on November 12th and Ohio State November 26th. He's also looking at Michigan, Florida, and Temple for his remaining visit. Bell said he's expecting either Reed or Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables to scout him out this season. His team is off to an 0-5 start, and he's been playing safety and quarterback. He has 1 interception and about 40 tackles this season. An offer for USC with linebacker Channing Tindall of Spring Valley. So the Gamecocks have offered him. He's a 2018 prospect. A basketball note. 6'10" Claxton, Nick Claxton of Greenville has taken official visits to USC, Georgia, and Florida State. This weekend, he'll visit Baylor, and next weekend, NC State, to complete his official visits. All 5 schools remain in the hunt for Claxton, who plans to sign in the early period, which begins November 9th. Claxton's father said they hear on a regular basis from USC coach Frank Martin, as well as assistant coach Matt Figger. And they're planning to come watch him work out when they can. Mr. Claxton said his son might not announce his choice until the first day of the signing period on November 9th. That is tonight's recruiting report. If you missed anything or want more, don't forget we post recruiting stories. When I say we, Kornblut post recruiting stories on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, on the reg, and you can keep up with everything. And the best thing is, it's absolutely free. All our content on SportsTalkSC.com is free. You can't beat that price. And I know a lot of people say, well, you get what you pay for, K-Mac. I will tell you, you will not be disappointed with the content you get at SportsTalkSC.com. There's a lot of great places. There's a lot of great places that cover recruiting. Some of them put it behind a paywall. In fact, most of them put it behind a paywall. And we don't. We don't put any of our content behind a paywall. So add us to whatever your regular web browsing experience is. Put us in your faves and go over there and check out SportsTalkSC.com. It is updated on a regular basis, 365 days a year. Doesn't matter. Corn, he's fasting tonight. I think he fasts for Yom Kippur. So he'll be fasting tonight. I know him. He will be doing recruiting stuff. I've never been around Kornblut for an extended amount of time where he has not made at least one recruiting call in an hour. And I'm not exaggerating. You might think, oh, he's exaggerating. He's trying to be funny. No. And that includes sitting next to him in a press box at a game. He's calling them at halftime. He's calling them during TV timeouts. The man is always calling teenage boys. Anybody else that calls as many teenage boys as Kornblut would be in prison right now. But Korn is working hard even on holidays. So check out sportstalksc.com for all of the latest recruiting news. The Dodgers continue to lead 4-3 in the second inning. Clayton Kershaw still on the mound for the Dodgers. Just the weirdest thing with Clayton Kershaw. The guy has the lowest ERA in the regular season in Major League history. Just lights out in the regular season. For whatever reason, in the postseason, it's been a struggle. Now, he won Friday night, but he didn't pitch great. They had to go to the bullpen early. And he's pitching on short rest because he pitched Friday. The Dodgers, with their back against the wall, they needed him, so they're going with him today. He has a 4-2 lead, and normally Clayton Kershaw with a 4-2 lead, I'm feeling great. Just get it to Jansen. But I don't know. And Jansen actually pitched yesterday, and he got shellacked a little bit in the eighth inning. So the Dodgers are holding a 4-2 lead. We'll see if they can get it done. As far as the rest of the baseball playoffs, it's been pretty intriguing to watch. The Red Sox are eliminated. Apparently Cleveland, now that the Cavaliers won a championship, unless you're the Browns, they are forever cursed. But the other Cleveland sports teams, not named the Browns, are doing okay. We'll have the Cubs and Giants. Who stayed up for that one last night? You were up when it ended because you were in Charlotte.
Just
Jared.
driving around. The press box in Charlotte, though, no MLB games.
Did you not have that on?
2 high school volleyball games, no MLB baseball games.
That's the press box at Williams-Brice on Sunday didn't have any NFL on either. So you get there before the game. You're like, okay, I can catch a little bit of the 1 o'clock games. Nope. They were showing a replay of the Texas A&M Tennessee game. So we sat. And then after the game, all the TVs were off. Thought we might be able to catch the end of the 7 o'clock, the 4 o'clock games. It was about 7 o'clock at that point. Nope. I don't know. Maybe there's some rule you can't have any NFL on in an SEC press box. I was surprised by that. Normally they have the TVs on different college games on a Saturday. It was a very strange weekend of football with Clemson playing on a Friday night, the Storms going on, and then USC playing on a Sunday. Speaking of the Storms, it's still a lot of people I know listening out there in the low country, the PD, the Grand Strand areas, Florence. Our thoughts are still with you. Hopefully it's going to get better here and the worst is over. I know some flooding's happening, but I've seen some just gut-wrenching pictures of flooding, and it just brings back nightmares because we just went through this. So everybody hang in there. We'll come together and do everything we can. We'll give you an update on that. We're actually going to have somebody on from the SC Electric Cooperative in our next hour to kind of update things and give some information, because I know there are a lot of people that are going through this that are listening to us now for maybe a diversion or just something to do. So we're happy to be that diversion for you, but hopefully we can pass along some information for you as well coming up in our next hour. We'll have Mick Mixon in our next hour. We'll talk some about that Carolina Panthers loss. Jared was at the game. Panthers now 1-4. They have some work to do. We have some more work to do, another hour's worth, and we're going to do it with you. Stick around. More sports talk on the other side.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Welcome back into Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network. Kevin McCrary holding it down. Phil Kornbluth off tonight. The Professor Tom Hayes also off tonight. Jared Rogers-Martin behind the glass. You can join us if you so choose. 800-956-7266. Toll-free number for you. You can also via email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. You can tweet at us at SportsTalkSC. Our website is SportsTalkSC.com. If you're just tuning in and catching up on the news du jour, nothing major. We heard from Dabo Swinney, our Talking Tuesday segment. You can hear what he had to say on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. The Braves have a manager, and they didn't have to look far. Good for them. They brought up Brian Snitker, took that interim label away, and made him their guy. And I think that was the right decision, given what he did with the talent that they had and what he inherited, and the players loved him. And they could have gone out and tried to find a name like Bud Black. They said, we have a new stadium. We got to bring in a new face. They could have done that, but this was a very Braves move, and they haven't done a lot of Braves things lately. And maybe they're going to get back to doing Braves things again, which is working within their organization, promoting from within, keeping guys on board when they develop them and not trading them away for asset after asset after asset. It's time to get it going again if you're the Atlanta Braves, and I think this is a good move. Snitker, a guy that has South Carolina ties, was in Greenville, and everybody that has ever crossed paths with Brian Snitker says he is phenomenal. I've never been around him, but Mike Morgan, our Morgan on the Move man, has been around him and gotten to know him, says he's great. So everybody seems to like him. He did a great job filling in for Freddie Gonzalez, given what he inherited. And remember, the Braves won 12 of 14 to close out the season. His staff's going to be pretty much the same. Terry Pendleton is staying on as the bench coach. Eddie Perez will coach first base. A couple of new guys. Now, Chuck Hernandez will replace Roger McDowell as the pitching coach. Former Ranger skipper Ron Washington is going to be the new third base coach. That's a great move right there. Ron Washington has a ton of experience with the Rangers and brought them to the World Series. So good stuff there from the Braves, in my opinion. Good news for Dustin Johnson. Congratulations to him, the Coastal Carolina alum, South Carolina native, former Dutch Fork High School student. He is your PGA Tour Player of the Year. Won his first major at the U.S. Open, also won the World Golf Championships, Bridgestone Open, and the BMW Championship. 800-956-7266. Let's go out to the phones. Pippi's on the line.
Yes.
Parts unknown. Hello.
Hey, I heard you comment earlier on Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Somebody had mentioned something about that this morning, but they put a 50-point cap on it, so you couldn't go to 78% anyway.
Oh, that was stipulated at the beginning. I thought they just welched on it.
Well, from what I was understanding, from what they said this morning, that it was, you get it half price is the best they was going to do for you, which still ain't bad.
That's a great deal. But the promotion said whatever the margin of victory. Now, granted, it was the largest margin of victory, I think, for Michigan since 1939. So but
maybe they need to do that against a team they don't think they're going to win against, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think they thought they would win, but like 35-7, figure we're going to do 20%. But my thing is, if you do a promotion, that's like if I do a hole-in-one promotion and a guy makes it, I'm not going to give you that car. I'm going to give you a bicycle. Yeah. So I don't like it. It's not like Ruth's Chris can afford to give 78% off for some Michigan fans.
I've only eaten at the one in Atlanta, and I mean, it's good food. I ain't gonna argue about that. But yeah, they proud of it too.
You sound like a guy that could make just as good of a steak on their grill in the backyard.
Well, I like grilling turkeys myself with honey and butter, but that'll work too.
Whatever floats your boat.
That's right. I had a comment. I went to a high school game not long ago, and the band was playing about the whole time the opposite team was playing the ball. I mean, I don't know if there's any rules against that or not, but you would think common courtesy is not to be playing while the other team's trying. I mean, how are you going to hear your signals when the other team's band is playing the whole time?
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to do that. The officials should have stopped that. You're not supposed to be playing when the other team is trying to snap the ball.
They went into a 4 overtime, and the whole time they was playing on the overtime, they was still doing it. And you would think, okay, the official ought to have said something during that part of it at least.
Should have.
Like I said, I ain't been to a high school game in a long time. That was a good one to go to with 4 overtimes, but that just, I didn't know. That caught me off guard when I was sitting there watching the game. And next thing I know, all I can do is hear the band instead of the game going on.
Right. Who was playing?
Edgefield and Strom Thurmond in Edgefield, and North Augusta, South Carolina.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, yeah, they're not supposed to let the band play with team snapping the ball. Football.
That's right. That's what I was thinking. But, like I said, it's up to the official, I guess, to call it. But still,
yeah,
at least have some courtesy on that, even if the official doesn't call it.
Yeah, sometimes those things slip through the cracks on the high school level. Good stuff. We appreciate it. Thank you for the call. 800-956-7266. That opens up a line. It's time for your weekly Mr. Football update, and I don't have any new names. There was no full slate of football games to update with the player of the week because we only had, half a dozen games on Friday. But we will tell you that the South Carolina Electric Cooperative will be announcing its Mr. Football coming up soon, and then its list of 5 finalists will be coming up very soon next month. And remember, your South Carolina Electric Cooperative, you can beat the peak and save on your energy bill. Visit EnergySmartSC.org/beatthepeak to learn how. Let's listen in on, we don't have time, do we? Are we up against it? Do we have time for Bryson Allen Williams? Okay, a few comments from Bryson Allen Williams. No talking Tuesday for the Gamecocks, but some of the players did do some talking during the bye week, and linebacker Bryson Allen Williams was one of them.
Jake is definitely a young guy that's coming along. He definitely looks good when he goes against us. But, most of the time he's on the offensive field with the offensive, the ones and the twos, and he's repping in with them guys. But he definitely looks good when we do see him, yeah.
So you don't get to see him a whole lot?
Yeah, we don't get to see him a whole lot, yeah. But like I said, he's developing. He's coming along. He's made a lot of strides since he's been here. So,
just in your opinion, Bryson, if he were to, say, get the starting job this season, I think he could maybe fix some of these offensive problems.
I don't want to get too far into that. I definitely believe in all our quarterbacks that we have. Definitely all of them are talented. Perry is a very talented thrower. Brandon can throw the ball and he can run it. Jake brings a little bit of both. And like I said, they're all talented guys. And, whichever one we go to war with, that's who we're going to play with. So.
All right, B.A., so throwing all that aside, in this bye week, how do you guys approach it? Is it starting all over, or do you just try to fine-tune?
It's definitely not starting all over. You can see, and, it's evident every game that, it's 1 or 2 plays that doesn't go our way that, could be changing the outcome of the game. It's definitely a couple of plays that we left on the field, me included. I definitely left a couple of plays on the field that, could have changed the game. But this bye week is basically, fresh start. It's a new season. We have 6 games. We win 4. We're going to a bowl game. We win all 6. We'll get to a better bowl game, and that's our goal. And that's how we're working this week. We're working towards winning the next 6. It's a fresh new start to this new season. So.
Have you guys started looking at UMass, or is this about fixing yourself?
It's about fixing South Carolina, definitely. It's a lot of stuff that we have to improve upon for us to be a successful team and to be a successful defense, and that's what we're starting on this week.
Thanks, Big.
All right, Bryson Allen Williams trying to remain positive about where the Gamecocks are right now as they try to regroup and find some answers during the bye week, especially on offense, but they have plenty of places to improve on both sides of the ball, frankly, and they have a game coming up that's winnable. They should be able to take down UMass and get to 3 wins, which would match their total from last year. They have Western Carolina still looming. That should be a game that they win, which would get them to 4. Then it gets a little tougher. I know people think they can beat Missouri. Maybe they can. That's the most winnable of their SEC games left. But Mizzou, I promise you Mizzou's thinking South Carolina's a win as well. We'll be right back. Sports Talk presented in part by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. We'll get back to your phone calls and other items momentarily on Sports Talk, but want to go out to the guest line and welcome in Jeff Singletary from PD Electric, the VP of Marketing at PD Electric. And we all know what's been going on in the wake of Hurricane Matthew, which has affected a lot of our state, specifically in the low country and the PD, and a lot of people have recovered and are moving along. A lot of people are still working their way through the aftermath of this storm, and we appreciate, Jeff, you joining us on the line to kind of update us on what's been happening, because you know, a lot of us survived the storm. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, but let's face it, it was pretty bad in some areas of our state, maybe worse than we expected in some areas in our state.
Yeah, that's right. We were in the Darlington, Florence area, and you know, we anticipated it was going to be bad, but really the wind and the water too is just overwhelming with the destruction that we're seeing. So it has been really bad.
Yeah, and even now I'm seeing pictures, and there's still some rivers that are not crested yet, and some flooding continues to be a major issue in some of those areas where you are. That's
right. The little PD River is probably a couple of days away from doing that, and just our guys have been wading in water waist deep, in several of the areas of the lower part of like Marion County and some of those areas that just, slowing it down, but it's just that we serve such a rural area in some places that it's just taken a while to, being able to restore and have everything put back in place.
And I know you guys are working overtime to get people restored. I mean, how much more work do you still have, or do you even have your brain around how much is left to do?
We started out with just about 27,000 people out when we started, and we've got just over 13,000 now to go. So we're about halfway. And one thing too, we've got people help from all over. We've got guys from, of course, in state here in South Carolina that's helping us out at other co-ops, and we've got a couple of crews from Alabama and Arkansas. So we've got just a nice group of guys that are just out to just help their fellow man and get things back going. So.
Well, one thing Nikki Haley said today, the governor, when she was holding her press conference, that stuck with me, and she repeated it. She said, if you see a lineman, thank them, because these people are away from their families. A lot of them have damage to their houses, and they're out working around the clock trying to restore power for people.
That's right. And we've got some guys that have actually been in another state working and finished up there and came on and helping us out now. So it's unbelievable the commitment they have to helping people and knowing that the work that needs to be done with this kind of disaster. So
yeah, no question about it. And another thing that you guys are no doubt dealing with is some of the damage, just trying to get to areas. I mean, the repair is one thing, but just trying to get to the spot when the roads are washed out or there's flooding, you can't even get there to start the repairs.
That's right. We've had some places that the roads were impassable and we've had to stop, and you just couldn't get down there, and it's just, like I say, slowing things down, and by having that many people out, we're just having to try to get everything from the substations out and just take it step by step to get as many people on as we can.
Jeff Singletary joining us from PD Electric. Is this the worst thing that you guys have seen down there that you've had to deal with from a storm standpoint?
Hugo came through, 28 years ago or so, and things were a little different at that time. You probably got more people. We've got more people on our system. So, but the trees and the rain that we've had, and we've had all the rain last year in October, so all the ground is saturated. It's just easier for the trees to fall over, and when they fall over, it's usually lines nearby, and causing these problems. So, but yeah, this is just as bad, or probably the worst thing we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, since Hugo, and that's saying something. That's the gold standard in terms of destructive storms that have hit South Carolina. Before we let you go, Jeff, is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners out there, the listeners in your area and other areas, about what you're doing and about what they can do or what they can expect here going forward?
Yeah, it's just, we just ask for your patience that, we're doing everything we can do. Some cases there's people on one side of the road have power, the other doesn't, and there may not be all fed off the same circuit, so we're having to work them one at a time and get them as we come, and try to be as safe as we can, and make this a success and get everybody back on as quick as we can.
Yeah, well, patience is always a key in these things, and it is tough when your neighbors have it and you don't. But the good thing is, hopefully you have good neighbors that'll bring you over there and feed you and let you take a shower and hang out for a while until you guys get them taken care of, because I know you will, and I know you guys are working hard, and our thoughts and prayers are with you guys and everybody that's trying to help us get back on track after Hurricane Matthew.
Thank you. Yeah, we certainly appreciate it. Like I said, we know people are listening, and we just, want everybody to know we're working as hard as we can, and we'll get it on as soon as we can.
Thanks so much for everything you guys are doing, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
All right, Jeff Singleton, marketing at PD Electric. Those guys are working so hard. All the first responders, the state troopers, the government officials, from the governor on down, they've been on top of this thing. You can't control these natural disasters, but you can control your reaction and your response, and it's been very good, and there's a lot of people working hard. So definitely give everybody a pat on the back and help anybody out that you can if you're in a position to do so. Let's get into our high school football report, a service of Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money even if you received a quote before Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. So let's give you the latest high school polls, shall we? Again, not a lot of games over the weekend because of Hurricane Matthew, but the polls are out. The new polls are in, and we'll begin with Class 4A. Myrtle Beach, your top-ranked team, 7-0. South Point, number 2 at 5-1. Then it's Cane Bay, third. They're 6-0. Belton Honeypath is fourth at 6-1. Ridgeview, recently suffering its first loss of the season. They didn't play this week in the Midlands. They're number 5. Hartsville is 6. Then 7 through 10, North Myrtle Beach, Beaufort, Greer, and South Aiken. In Class 3A, Dillon is your number 1 team. Bluffton is number 2. Bishop England 3. Gilbert at 6-0 is 4. Then it's Lake City 5th. 6 through 10, Powdersville, Broome, Chester, Brooklyn, Casey, and Fairfield Central. Class 2A, your top 5, Abbeville, Barnwell, Bamberg, Earhart, Saluda, and Cheraw. 6 through 10, Lee Central, undefeated Lee Central. 7, Blacksburg. Then it's Batesburg, Leesville, Carvers Bay, and Andrews, rounding out your top 10. Your Class A polls for this week. Lamar at 6-0 is number 1. Lakeview, also 6-0. They're number 2. Rick Henry from WIS, his alma mater, MacB, is number 3 at 4-2. Hemingway is 4th, and Baptist Hill is 5th. 6 through 10, Williston Elko, Louisville, Blackville Hilda, St. John's, and C.E. Murray. Your polls for this week in our Farm Bureau Insurance High School report. Now, we'll see what's going to happen with the high school schedule. There's going to be some more alterations potentially to come down. The executive committee of the high school league is supposed to get together and meet tomorrow. I know some schools have been talking to the high school league, trying to figure out what to do. They're not back in school in many parts of the state. There's massive flooding going on in other parts, just a lot of things happening. And that's what makes all of this kind of strange, because a lot of us are in parts of the state that everything's fine. The sun's been out. It's been gorgeous weather the past few days, but there are some people really struggling here in the aftermath of this storm, dealing with a lot of loss and property, and some schools that are still not up to speed. I've seen pictures of some high school fields that were covered in water. So there are going to be some more games canceled, and there's a chance that we could see the high school season extended another week. So we could have the state championship taking place on the week of the Shrine Bowl, potentially, which would be different. Happened before. I think that might have happened after Hugo, if memory serves, that I read that recently. So we'll see. More on that should be coming down tomorrow. We're going to hit a break. We're going to take a lap or two around Darlington with Kerry Tharp, see how the track Too Tough to Tame held up to Hurricane Matthew.
You don't know me, but I paid to get this message on here to warn you. Maybe you've heard recently about new laws making it harder to use cash.
Rolling through a Tuesday evening here on Sports Talk. Glad you're along with us wherever you have us dialed in around the state. We appreciate it. 800-956-7266 is the toll-free number to join us on Sports Talk tonight. Reach out and grab a line. We can squeeze in a few more calls before we say goodbye. We're going to track down Kerry Tharp, president of Darlington Raceway, hopefully this segment. Hopefully KT's okay down there. I mean, he's kind of in the bad part of the Hurricane Matthew track. So we will see if we can catch up with him. Hopefully we can. I'll update you on the baseball game. I'm happy to report the Dodgers are leading 5-2 in a must-win game for the Dodgers. They are in the 7th inning. Clayton Kershaw on a short rest, 10 strikeouts through 6 innings in that one. Later tonight, we'll have the Giants and the Cubs playing. The Giants, a remarkable come-from-behind win last night to stave off elimination. The Giants are one of those teams. They're kind of like the Cardinals. You get them into the postseason, and they're dangerous. They're hard to put away. They battle, and that's what they did against the Cubs last night, winning that late night, early morning extra inning affair to take down the Cubs and extend that series. That one will get started in about an hour. So there's that. Okay, what else did we want to do here? Still no Kerry Tharp, so we can listen in on a little bit of what Ron Rivera had to say. Do we have, Jamar? Let's listen in on Ron Rivera from earlier today. We're going to have Mick Mixon in our next segment to talk about the Panthers and their 1-4 start after last night's loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The last 2 games they've lost in the final seconds. They missed a field goal against the Broncos in week 1, and then last night they had a field goal made against them in the final seconds to win the game, or lose the game, as it were. Ron Rivera today talked to reporters about what went down last night and what he envisions happening going forward.
I thought our third down offense and third down defense wasn't good enough to win the game. I mean, if those were those are probably the negatives that kept us from winning the football game. The positives are we moved the ball well. We were positive in the red zone, 2 for 3. Would love to have been 3 for 3. And then defensively, we held them 0 for 4 in the red zone. So there was a lot of good things that can be taken from this, a lot of things that we can build on going forward. But we have to be realistic. We are 1-4. It's what you are, what your record says.
You look at the past history of teams that are 1-4, it's only 6% that have gone on to make the playoffs. How concerning is that?
Well, that's football. We'll find out. We're going to play them one at a time. Our next game's New Orleans. And despite the fact that some people want to go ahead and give the division to somebody already with 11 games left to play. So we'll just wait and see, though. We're going to play them one at a time, and that's the way we're going to look at it. We're not going to worry about what happened last year. It's a different football team, a different season. And the bottom line is we have to focus in on us getting better as a football team.
What's, in your mind, Ron's the biggest reason you guys are 1-4?
Missed opportunities more than anything else. You go through it and look at it, and you can point at every phase of our football team on opportunities that we've missed, whether it's in special teams, whether it be a missed kick, a missed tackle, a missed opportunity for a big return, defense, missed opportunity on third down to get off the field, missed opportunities on interceptions and takeaways, and on the offensive side, missed opportunities of protecting the football. So it's not like it's one thing or one element. It's a number of things, and these are things that we have to correct. And that's the truth of it. It's going to start with me, obviously. Got to look at the way we can do things better. And then coaches, what can we do to put them in position to succeed, and then players, execution. And that's just the bottom line.
The turnover ratio is going the other way this year.
Well, it's sometimes it happens that way. You make your own luck. Again, their quarterback fumbles the ball and it rolls back to them, and ours, it rolls away. It's just uncanny sometimes. But the thing you can do is just keep working hard at it and keep playing hard.
Cam still in the concussion protocol?
Yes, he had a good day on Monday, though. He came out. He worked out with our training staff. They took him out. He ran. He threw the ball. We had one of our young guys with him, and he was running routes for him. He lifted. And then I don't know how he is today, though. I didn't have a chance to see him, but I know yesterday he did a lot. They put a lot on his table, so we'll see how he is when I get done here. I'll check and see where he is, but he had a good day yesterday, so that's encouraging.
Optimistic he could get out there on Wednesday then?
Yeah, but I don't want to say so because I haven't seen him. I mean, the thing with this is my understanding is when they do all that, it's always how is he the next day, and I haven't had a chance to visit on that yet.
Ron, for what it's worth, the post-game shows last night made a big to-do about Cam being on a Segway without a helmet. Is that any concern of yours?
I'm not going to worry about that. I don't know, and the bottom line is, he's an adult, and we'll go from there.
Cam Newton rides a Segway and takes heat. Didn't even play in the game. I saw Danny Cannell tweet today, or no, he didn't tweet. Apparently on his radio show said that Cam Newton's a guy that likes to hear himself talk. And really, he was taking heat for not talking enough after the Super Bowl. Now he talks too much, and he rode a scooter without his helmet. It wasn't really a scooter. It was a Segway. And because he has a concussion, that's not smart. And maybe he should have had a helmet on, but the guy gets criticized for every little thing that he does. He dances too much. He talks too much. He doesn't talk enough. Why didn't he put a helmet on? I mean, does anybody in the NFL attract more of this heat, Jared, than Cam Newton? Name a guy. I mean, Tom Brady takes heat from his haters, I guess, but not like Cam Newton.
Odell Beckham Jr., but you could say that's almost deserved.
Right.
I mean,
he brings a little more on himself.
I mean, if anything, Cam tries to put like an arm, be like, listen, like keep me away. I don't want this attention.
Yeah. Cam is very animated on the field during games. Wins and losses. I remember those first few lean years, he'd put the towel over his head and people got mad. And then he kind of pouted, or they said he pouted. That's not a fair word. Now he's pouting and he's not talking to his teammates. Then he's having too much fun and they're taking pictures, and he really can't win. There's nothing that he can say or do that is enough. But I think people just need to let Cam Newton play football. He answers, he goes to his press conference, he answers the questions. I don't know. But more importantly, Jared, what are we going to do with this Panthers team? They're 1-4 now. You heard in the comments there, 6% chance that they're going to make the playoffs at this stage statistically, if you look at history. And if they don't play better fast, it's going to go down in a hurry. Now, the Panthers have played poorly before and gotten it together, but they're digging themselves quite the hole.
They're digging themselves a hole, but the season isn't lost in a way that I think it's like you're not demoralized. There doesn't need to be a major rebuild. I think their biggest problem right now is just they've got a lot of youth out there. I mean, it's hard to trot out two rookie cornerbacks. I mean, that's just something you're not going to succeed with, especially when it was a source of strength last year. That just with the more reps, you're going to get better. I mean, Daryl Worley, he had himself an all right game. I think he was mostly on Mike Evans last night. Mike Evans had 89 yards and a touchdown, but he battled. I mean, he had to battle for that. And Mike Evans, he's one of those premier wide receivers. And for a rookie, really getting his first, cornerback start, that's not bad numbers. Those are numbers I'll take if it's a learning curve.
Yeah, and the Panthers had their chances last night. First and goal inside the 5. They threw an interception. Derek Anderson just tossed one up for Greg Olsen, and it wasn't there, and that was tough. And then on that final drive, Tampa Bay converted at least 2, maybe 3 third downs. There was the face mask penalty that made the field goal a lot shorter for a guy that wasn't really making long field goals. So it was a rough
wasn't
day.
Pleased with that face mask call either.
Yeah, it was close. I mean, the head came around. They're going to call that. I mean, it wasn't a bad call. It could have been a non-call, but it wasn't a bad call in that situation. We'll talk to Mick Mixon, get his take on it coming up next.
Anderson, hands in the red. The end zone, the leaping grab by Grimes.
Why?
Picked off right part of the end zone, the leaping grab. Anderson. Anderson. Position, takes a handoff, throwing end zone interception. Picked off right part of the end zone. The Anderson, hands in the ready position, takes a handoff, throwing end zone interception. Picked off. Anderson, hands in the ready position, takes a handoff, throwing end zone interception. Picked off right part of the end zone, the leaping grab by Grimes.
Why? That's a great call. I mean, that just really pretty well summed up everybody's emotion that was listening or watching or both at that stage as we welcome in Mick Mixon. That why. It's like you're running the ball, you're right there. Easy to play armchair quarterback, Mick, but man, that's a tough play right there.
Oh, I know. You know, we can backseat drive that thing all night. It really was one of the key plays in the game. These are professional athletes. Don't feel like they need to be protected. You know, if this was a high school game, you'd want to talk about how, you know, how hard everybody worked and all that. But, you know, in the NFL, everything that the Panthers do and the other teams do is subject to talk shows and different armchair quarterback type things. And, you know, that was a tough one. If that works,
If Olsen's wide open, maybe we're talking about what a great call that Mike Shula dialed up in the press in the booth just to our right. But from the 1.5 yard line, I know that the Panthers would love to have that one back, because that was the game. If you punch it in there, you get 7 there. We're probably talking about a whole different kind of feeling tonight around Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah, and I didn't hate the call on first down, but Anderson, and this is a guy that doesn't play a lot. We know he's the backup. He's done great filling in for Cam in these situations in the past. Just give the fan the ball there, throw that thing away, and live to fight another down. But it didn't happen that way, and it was just one of the many bad breaks, or one of those plays, like you said, that it comes down to that changes whether you win a game or lose a game in the National Football League.
Cam Newton did not throw a red zone pick last year. It's not fair to compare Cam Newton to Derek Anderson, because they're two different type guys. And like you said, when you play every week, you get in kind of a rhythm. But one of the keys to success of last year's Panthers was red zone ball security. That was the same thing that came back to hurt the Carolina Panthers last night. So how do you read it? We go to New Orleans. Drew Brees might not normally this late into his career keep you up late at night, but against this Carolina Panther defense that has been porous in the secondary, it's going to be a tough challenge.
Well, Mick, I hope you weren't in charge of making the schedules, because New Orleans coming off a bye, the Panthers playing on Monday night. You got to go to their place. Goodness gracious.
Well, don't think that hasn't escaped the ire of head coach Ron Rivera. He's not happy about several components of the NFL's scheduling computer and whoever is in charge of that. But nobody cares. I mean, nobody's going to feel sorry for the Panthers. Super Bowl participant a year ago, Cam Newton doing the Superman. Look at me. Here's the S on my chest. First down, Panthers going that way. So you just got to rack them up and play them as they go. But it is going to be a tough nut to turn. Not only is New Orleans coming off the bye, but they lost 3 in a row to start the season, then had the last second, I think it was 35-34 win, improbable win to set up their bye week. So they'll be energized.
Yeah, no question about it. You mentioned Cam Newton. They need Superman to put the cape back on as quickly as possible. It sounds like, listening to Ron Rivera today, it looks pretty good that he's going to make the trip to the Superdome and be back behind center.
Hope so. I saw Cam today in the building. I didn't talk to him. He was riding the bike, and one of the trainers was talking to him. But like Cam does, a lot of smiles. And don't you know that emotionally, last night was killing him to have to watch his teammates fall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm sure his thoughts were of, could I have made a difference if I could have played in the game? Yeah,
no question about it. On the other side of the ball, the defense made the stops, different times to bail out the offense, but third down really hurt them, especially on that last drive.
Third down was key both ways. The Panthers had good first down productivity, a lot of 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and manageable, but could not convert enough. And then Tampa Bay, especially on that last drive when they just went zip, zip, zip down the field, used the clock. I mean, it was textbook. You hate it, but you have to, at some point, if you love good football, say that Tampa Bay deserved to at least cross the 50 and get into field goal range. And there was no way that even Roberto Aguayo, with the struggles that he has had, was going to miss that one.
Yeah, no question. All right, Mick, well, enjoy the Big Easy. Come back with a win, okay? We need one.
Let's do it. Yeah, we need one.
Sounds good. We appreciate it. Mick Mixon joining us on the show. Tough loss for the Panthers, 1-4. They're going to have to dig deep to see if they can get it back together, and they go on the road to take on Drew Brees and the Saints. Hopefully that secondary, Jared, they better bring their secondary with them, or Drew Brees will pick them apart. Fortunately, Julio Jones won't be running around at wide receiver for the Saints, but they have some pretty good guys.
I mean, Braden Cook and Willie Snead are no joke themselves. And then, Kobe Fleener's that's a tight end that can catch on you as well. They let Chris Berate kind of go off in this game against the Bucs. So that's no easy matchup, especially when you've got a man that can throw a needle through a needle stack with Drew Brees there. He can pinpoint past you to high heaven.
Yes. He can still thread the old needle, and the Panthers need some swagger to come back. And maybe Cam Newton will bring that back to them, give them that jolt on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they don't have that swagger that they had last year defensively either. And they need to find some guys. You know, it's really easy to point to Josh Norman and go, they miss him. And I don't think there's any question they do. He brought a swagger to them as well. I mean, they had that attitude and that edge when he was back there. And they've got to find some other guys that can do that up front. Short doesn't have a sack yet. Unless he got one late last night. And they've got to start getting to the quarterback.
That's a problem, man. I saw some of their best rushes last night came from when Robert McClain came up off the cornerback rush, you know, these cornerback blitzes. And that is the sign of a sick pass rush. When you are relying on your best rushing to come from the cornerback and just these speedsters, something's wrong. I mean, that's just not where you want your rushes to come from. That's desperate.
Adam Humphries, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, former Clemson Tiger from the upstate of South Carolina. He had a pretty good game for the Bucs last night, caught a 2-point conversion in that matchup. And he's a kid that I would have never guessed. In fact, Dabo Swinney, I have to just take my medicine here. Dabo Swinney was talking about him playing in the NFL. And I think I went on our afternoon show at the time and said, Dabo, this is another case of Dabo. Everybody's going to the NFL. Because if you saw Adam Humphries get off the bus, you wouldn't think he was part of the team. You'd probably think he was one of the trainers or a ball boy. But he's gone out there and carved out a niche for himself as a slot receiver for Jameis Winston. And he returns punts for them, does everything that he did for Clemson. There were Clemson fans that didn't like him returning punts for the Tigers. But Dabo put him back there. And congratulations to him. It's great to see a kid from the state, from the high school ranks into college in our state, and then go to the NFL. I'm always proud of those guys that actually are born, bred, raised, played their college ball in South Carolina. They go on to the NFL. And there's a lot of those guys now, more and more of them. And Humphries is an unlikely one in my mind. Now, Dabo Swinney would say, I told you so. Not in mine. So I thought about that last night when I was watching Adam Humphries run around. All right, we'll be back tomorrow to do this all again. We'll have the Pastor of Payne, and we'll have Will Merritt and the M&M boys. We'll see how much they can mix it up this week. That will be very intriguing. We'll hear from Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables. We'll catch up with a few more USC players as they go through their bye week. We'll go to the offensive side of the ball, see what Perry Orth has to say. So we have a lot going on. And as I leave you, I will tell you the Dodgers are still up 5-3 at this point. Right? Is my game track? Yeah, my game tracker is not behind, I hope. 5-3 is the score that I have. So the Dodgers are winning. That's going to do it. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place here on Sports Talk. For Jared Rogers, Martin, Kevin McCrary here, wishing you a good one. Talk to you soon.